need a plastic booth.
I know, I love it. Oh, okay, here we are. Hi. Hi, everybody. So this is the Liberal Lounge with Billy and Lola.
Hi.
So we have, this is our first one. So we're super excited to be able to start talking and to do this. I have been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. I don't even know if I can call it a podcast.
I don't know.
It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt like I couldn't find the right person and I couldn't settle on where I wanted to land with all of this. So I'm really excited to be talking to Lola, and I'll let you talk a little bit about like why you even agreed to do this crazy thing with me.
I think my passion for politics has amped up with the new administration and everything that's going on. And I like to share some of my own opinion. I'm no expert.
And I am not an expert either. So thank you for saying that because let's talk about what we're going to, like where we're going to go with all of this. So what we're thinking is, and we're going to take your feedback from the audience, of course, is we want to have a conversation about some of the current topics, things that are going on, as Lola had just said, like with the current administration and the craziness happening in the world right now and in the United States. And then talk about something a little bit more personal and, you know, or things that are going on like in our local economy, because we both have a pretty good finger on the pulse of what's going on in Vegas with entertainment, with all of the stuff happening here. And I think that's going to be really interesting to people. So hopefully if you don't hear one thing that you like, you're going to hear another thing that you like.
Yeah, we've got a lot in store.
We do. So with that,
Where
let's
do you
talk
want to
about
start?
exactly where do we start. So I feel like the first place we could start, and we were talking about this, is the LA riots. So that is a very, very hot topic. It's very current.
It's unfolding even as we speak. So this weekend, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has been on social media talking about, you know, basically the illegality of the military being on the streets of Los Angeles in response to peaceful protests. Peaceful is the key word.
And the other thing I saw too was that, you know, Gavin Newsom, the mayor of LA, as well as even like Hakeem Jeffries, you know, and I think they illustrated a really good point that there's going to be bad actors. Yes, there's going to be some looting, and there's going to be things like that. But we've always seen that in these large scale protests. But that shouldn't change the views and change the point of all of this. The point is that it's immigration that they're protesting, and that's what everybody in LA is so fired up because it's such a large state for immigration that that's what they're doing, that's what they're protesting. And the cause and the reason that they're doing it is valid, good, and they're being both. My Trump accuses putting out the National Guard or Camp Pendleton, which they aren't even coming from Camp Pendleton. I just found out they're coming from some base in the middle of the desert. But Camp Pendleton sounds a lot more, you know, manly and sturdy, so that's why he's saying all of those kind of lies, you know.
And it's so rushed that some of the military don't have food. They're sleeping on boards. They are, you know, basically being asked to keep the peace in a situation that it wasn't warranted, not at this point. I mean, trying to protect the people in your community from being illegally snatched, because that's how I feel it's happening right now. Due process is in question, habeas corpus is in question. People that are visiting ICE immigration offices for their scheduled appointments are being, you know, taken without due process. And it's such a serious topic. We should be out there protesting. I just saw on Facebook before I came up here today that they're at Home Depot here in Las Vegas. Right now, as we speak, they're at Centennial and Tropical.
I believe that they made a mandate that they had to deport at least 3,000 people a day. A day.
And Biden is doing what, fifth of that?
Yeah.
Sixth of that?
Yeah.
A tenth of that?
Mm-hmm.
And now their mandate, they're going to hit the Home Depots. They're going to hit the construction sites. They're going to.
Restaurants.
Yep.
It's
and if
crazy.
you want to talk about California specifically, which is the world's fourth largest economy. I don't know if everybody knows this, but in researching the topic for today, I learned that the state of California carries 1/7 of the United States GDP, and that's just amazing to me. There's 50 states, and California's economy is so large that it actually contributes a surplus of $80 billion to the U.S. economy. That's mind-blowing to me. So yeah, it makes sense why California is being targeted right now.
Well, I remember hearing about those statistics and first hearing about how large of an economy. I mean, I always knew that California was a large state and that they have, a lot of money in that state.
A lot of industry.
Yeah, but I didn't realize it until I think it was when Robert Wade got overturned, and then there was a lot of talk about states' rights and things like that, and how some states bothered because they wanted to be able to not have like nap standards. They wanted to, and it was just funny because a lot of these states are small and they weren't contributing.
Right.
And it was California that was like, feel free. If you take away our contribution to the GDP, then you're going to really be lacking a lot of money. And it's just funny that these smaller states think that they could break off and do this when they don't realize how the economics of all that breaks down.
Exactly.
Newsom has now gotten into this war like significantly, and now Trump and his border thought that they might arrest him.
Yeah. Oh, I think I saw that. He said, "Come and get me." How do you feel about that? I mean, we're talking about a governor of a state.
It just shocks. I've never seen such a vast contrast and a butting of heads. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been governors that have clashed with federal officials and senators and presidents, but it's never amped up to this level. And I mean, it just feels like a lot of show. It just feels like Trump is doing this because he wants to distract us and see what sticks. And I mean, I think this is a very important topic because this is the Americans displaying their right to protest that are being now. I mean, we've never had troops on the ground like this, or we haven't in a very long time.
It's unconstitutional to activate the military to point their guns at American citizens who are peacefully making it known that they do not agree with this policy of snatching people from their homes, their jobs, their everyday lives, because a lot of them are following the rules and the guidelines on their path to citizenship. What I want is the path to coexistence. What did I say earlier today? Something about all the violent gang members that their families are eating our pets. Yeah. Like, that's not the people that they're taking.
No.
That is not the people they're taking.
Undocumented, and that's not true.
No.
Because if you're undocumented, in most cases, that means that they come here because they're seeking sanctuary from whatever place that they need to leave. And they're here legally while they're waiting for that very long process to happen. And they're undocumented because they don't have their paperwork yet. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I'm really interested in how you feel about this, is the response from everybody. That the message from the Democrats and from everybody that's more liberal should be that we need to just be peaceful and that any kind of violence or anything is not accepted. And I feel like that is a message that's being set out there, but I don't think that we should stop there. I think that going the extra step and pointing out what Trump's doing and challenging him. I mean, I think what Gavin Newsom is doing is, I would do the same thing. if I was in a seat, I would say, I mean, he said, come get me, tough guy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that he's standing up to somebody that's being a bully. That's really what Trump is doing.
Exactly. I feel like we've got a bully situation that, we've got somebody standing up for the rights of its residents, whether they are undocumented or on their path to citizenship or they're Californian United States citizens. They all deserve the same due process. They all deserve the right to be safe in your home. Why are the Marines there? Like, there's so many questions when the Constitution protects us from the military turning on our own citizens, our own people, and peaceful. That's very important part of it, because freedom of speech and being able to assemble and all of these things in light of the No King's Day that's happening this weekend. Trump just stated a very heavy-handed warning that if there's any people protesting his ridiculous parade this weekend, they're going to be heavy-handed, and like, that's not necessary.
That's not American.
It's not American.
It's not.
Exactly.
Well, I think we did a really good job of trying to give you our perspective, but that's all we're doing, about a very topical thing happening. And, we did our best to try to research this a little bit and to give you some facts and some, real information about it. So hopefully you like this and you want to see more videos from us. So please like and subscribe and, come back and see more. We're actually going to follow this video up with something a little bit more personal. So please come back and hear that.
I'm going to be in the hot seat.
I love it.